What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We are back outside for today's build vlog video, and this one's going to be pretty awesome because we have some really cool stuff to do and to look at. But this thing is really starting to take shape, and we definitely made it do that in the last episode, filling in all those spaces that needed to be done. Really like how this thing is turning out. There's still a few more things that we need to take care of in today's episode, and we plan on doing that along with maybe attaching those covers in the motor cage area. And then we're also going to be testing a flywheel cage today. This is the Eclipse cage with the Howler wheels in it, so that's like 38.5 millimeter spacing. I've never tested anything with that high a crush, but I'm hoping it'll work out okay with half-length darts. We shall see. I went ahead and kind of roughly did another Stryfe minimization, so we have the same sort of blaster as what's integrated into the Crossbow there, and a good just testing platform. This is a kind of a repurposed blaster here, but we are gonna start off today's episode by taking some shots with this thing and putting it on the chronograph, so stay tuned. All right, you guys, moment of truth. Charged up my LiPo. This is a 2S LiPo. We just have we have Fang revamps motors in here, which probably aren't the perfect motors for this setup. I probably would put something different if I end up going it, but it was what was already in here, so that's what we're gonna test. Should allow us to know if it functions well enough, and then we could probably get more FPS and more consistency, possibly. I'm not positive about this. If we use maybe a 3S motor, which is probably what I'll go with. Probably the motors from Band Blasters, which I'm not sure if is necessary for this, but, you know, go big or go home, I guess. So it's really hard to know these things, and kind of once you have the flywheels in there, then you kind of have to, I mean, it's not great to remove and replace your flywheels a ton. I probably could get away with it once. Kind of depends on the flywheels, but nevertheless, this is just for testing. We'll see if it works. So I'm gonna hold in the LiPo because I don't have a battery tray that kind of fits this at the moment, and I don't really want to go looking for one. So also, I didn't say this, but I have minimized the dart guide here for the Eclipse cage, so now it fits perfectly in here. Everything should line up well. I did not shorten this at all, so we'll see if that needs to be done. That's another thing that we may change. But yeah, let's just see if we can fire darts off first. Looks like it works okay to me. Dart is still intact. Man, we've really come a long way with darts, so this is why this works now. See a little cutting to that dart. So there is still some cutting to these darts, which was a problem with the Eclipse cage before. So I have to look into that. I think it just pinches it so much, and this is obviously even higher crush than the Eclipse wheels. So I'm still leaning towards the Eclipse wheels, but this may still happen with that. I need to dye them first before we test with that. But yeah, those definitely will not come off once they go on, once they go in the cage. So work needs to be done, but that's interesting. There is a slight cutting to the flywheel cage there. I'm not sure if there's a sharp edge, but I think what I thought before was it's actually cutting where there's that gap. So I might be able to work with the cage a little bit, but nevertheless, it does work. We have no foam buildup on these flywheels, so FPS should only get better. So, you know, proof of concept, I guess, or whatever you want to refer to this as. We can shoot darts out of a 38.5 millimeter cage. So we'll go ahead and finish this off. So yeah, that's working pretty well, and for no foam buildup, you know, 160 to 170 ain't bad. You know, that's pretty good, and I'm sure it'll only get better, and may even get better than that if we change the motors out. I'm not sure that this high crush is necessary. I'm not sure if we could get an advantage over like a 40 millimeter cage, that much advantage anyways, but this is a nice metal cage and I do plan on using it, but I think I'm still leaning towards the eclipse wheels if they go on well and they seem to work properly and all that, but this is a nice backup to have, so stay tuned. Okay, so like I was saying, I was getting some rips in the dart, which is something I mentioned when I reviewed this a long time ago. There's dart decapitation with this blaster, but I think that was more because of the darts that we had back then. We have really good darts now, especially the Worker HE Gen 3 darts. But we were still getting ripping there, and that is because of this part right here. It squeezes the dart enough, and it catches on that and rips it. So I actually went ahead and filed down this one. So I have it. I'll try to get a picture of it because you're probably not going to be able to see, but I filed it down on this, and I actually did both sides, but it's mainly, I think, this front one because obviously the dart's traveling this way. And I filed it down as much as I could, so hopefully that takes care of the issue. It's going to be kind of hard to know until we get motors and flywheels in the blaster. And I can't modify the other one unless I take the cage apart, obviously. So I just did this one. I think that's going to take care of the issue and should be better, but there may be more to come with this cage. I may do some other modifications to it. We will see. I didn't end up shortening the barrel. I think I'm going to keep it that length. I think the only reason why you would need to shorten this is it would kind of possibly hurt performance in theory, but the chronograph readings seem to be pretty consistent. They improved, obviously, because we were building up foam, but they seem to be pretty consistent, so I was pretty pleased with that. And this should help accuracy in theory, but obviously it was meant for full-length darts, and, you know, most people are doing these much shorter nowadays, but this is supposed to be a pretty accurate cage, so I'm going to keep that. I'd rather have more accuracy than less, obviously, and I don't think that that was hurting performance enough for me to adjust that. All right, you guys, so I went ahead and took care of some housekeeping, did some things, a lot of wet sanding, filled in things that I needed to fill in, small stuff. We started working on the front here, but I got a lot more work to do there. Probably going to do some putty stuff in there to kind of make it look nice in the front. But what we're going to work on now is this top rail section, and I think I'm going to do that with epoxy sculpt, but I'm going to do the very top with, I think this is ABS, just little pieces that will, little small pieces that will fit right here on each side and give me a clean line up there at the top and a flat spot. I'll probably DevCon this to this somewhat, but I'm hoping the epoxy sculpt will hold these on. It should do okay. And then we'll sand and file and shape the epoxy sculpt down here to kind of make this all look like it's one piece, obviously. So that should work out all right. We're going to go ahead and knock that out and then maybe take care of a few more little things with the epoxy sculpt. I already did this section in here, kind of blending these two parts. That turned out really well. So that's looking good there. And then I did a little, you can't even see it. I had to fill in this crack here just a little bit because of the way this went together. It kind of went like this, just a touch. That's dramatic. So there was a little gap on top. And so I just filled in one side with epoxy sculpt, and that'll give it a nice clean line. And I think I need to do it just a touch here. This one actually is a little less, but the same sort of situation, especially on this part up here on this side. But we just put some epoxy sculpt on one side. What my trick is, if you guys don't know this trick, you use some silicone grease on the side you don't want it to stick to, and it'll come right apart and give you a nice clean line. So that's what we'll do there. Let's go and get it done. Well, guys, there was so much white powder on this workbench that it looked like a scene out of Scarface. But on that note, let's say hello to my little friend. Did a pretty good job, I think, filling all that in with epoxy putty, shaping that nose on there with epoxy putty there. And yeah, that was a lot of work. Sanding epoxy putty is not fun at all, as you can tell by my file here. You pretty much destroy your files if you use it on epoxy putty, and that's why I use my old one here. It's just very difficult to clean that stuff out, even with a wire brush. It just doesn't do a great job of getting it out. But those are the sacrifices you make. And also an old needle file. Try not to use my good new ones that I just purchased. But yeah, we did a pretty nice job doing that. I've worked on the nose a little bit. You can see there. Looks pretty good. Probably some more work to do there still. And one other thing I worked on. Yes, that's right. We modified the modified battery door. And there's a very good reason actually for this. It's not because I just wanted a different shape. This is Hawkeye's battery door that he has on Thingiverse, and I like the shape of it a lot, but I needed a little bit more flat surface on the front, so I changed the look of it a little bit, and I think that turned out really well. It'll actually look better than just a 3D printed one, and it'll be better to paint because it'll be smoother. I mean, obviously you're going to sand that down if you're going to paint one anyways, but the reason why I needed a little bit more flat surface here is because we're going to be putting a nice reflective holographic sticker on there that kind of keeps with the theme of the original crossbow, but kind of ups it a notch, because that's kind of what we've done here with this crossbow. We've upped it a notch. And so we have a placement there for a sticker, and then we also will put one on the other side, on this side here. And since this is so flat, there's a lot of options like for stickers, so we'll definitely have one located in there somewhere. And then I also have toyed with the idea of possibly putting a Picatinny rail up here someplace. I'm not sure if I want to do both sides, because I could, or just this side. I don't know. You guys definitely let me know what you think. We could put one in there. It's going to be pretty tight. I could also try to find a better fitting Picatinny rail. There's some on Amazon. There's quite a few, obviously, to choose from. Mounting it could be a little tricky, just to make sure it's secure enough and whatnot. So I'm not 100% on this. And then another idea I've had with all my metal parts, which are going to be possibly this Picatinny rail, definitely this Picatinny rail, the cage. I also am going to be using an old metal artifact trigger. I believe that's what this is in here. And trying to get them powder coated yellow, or neon yellow for that matter. Because I think that would look really awesome. I don't know how much that was going to cost. If it's possible to powder coat something that's already been anodized, I think that's what this is, or powder coated, whichever one they are. But nevertheless, I'm not an expert in that field, so if anybody has any opinions or suggestions on that, let me know. But yeah, it'd be cool to get these put in yellow, just because it would kind of keep with the theme, and that would give it a nice touch, I think. So we will look into all that at some point soon. Definitely let me know on the side Picatinny rails if you think I should add that. It would give me a placement for like a flashlight or something. Just kind of adds to the look of the side of the blaster that's kind of plain. And that's just, I mean, that's what I went for, because I wanted to keep with the original crossbow look. So that's why I didn't add a lot of detailing on the sides. Plus it would be kind of hard to coordinate normal, like greebly things on blasters today with the crossbow, which is very unique with its greebly stuff. So I don't want to take away from that, so I didn't want to do anything here. And I think it still looks really good. But this would definitely add a little touch, especially if it had a little pop of yellow there, I think. So that would be cool. Definitely let me know on that. And I'll go ahead and show you what the top Picatinny rail looks like on top here. All right, there we go. So that kind of gives you an idea. I didn't lock it down or anything, but that kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to look like once it's locked in, and should look pretty good there. So I think this thing is really coming together. Pretty excited to get this thing closing in on possibly getting it primed soon. This definitely needs a good bath first. And I also bought some special primer to use on this project, so that'll be fun to use and see how that goes. It's kind of a similar idea to like the 2K clear coat cans I use. So it should be a really nice sandable primer, but this thing definitely needs a wash before any of that happens. And we also need to lock these guys on, which I think will be actually the next thing I do. So yeah, let's go ahead and knock that out, and then we'll have to fill in probably with epoxy sculpt or DevCon, depending on the gap size and whatnot. But let's go ahead and get that taken care of. Alright, so we got those locked on. We have them filled in, all the gaps with epoxy sculpt and DevCon around around the sides there. Seems to look pretty good there on both sides. We have added a momentary switch here for the voltmeter, and I plan on doing another switch over here for the LEDs. And I started drilling that, and I was like, you know what? You better wait and make sure you have the right size, because I was just going to do the same size. I think it's going to have to be a little bit bigger internally than this one was, but it's on its way from Amazon, so we'll just wait, and hopefully that'll work out okay, but didn't want to get too ahead of myself there. I also ordered some other options for Picatinny rails that I kind of like, that may work well and may allow me to do one over here on this side. But yeah, definitely let me know what you think about that. I'm not sure how tactical I want this. I mean, there is a lot of practicality in Picatinny rails on the side. You know, I could, like I said, do an LED light, maybe an ammo counter. I'm kind of just thinking that I was going to do like a built-in ammo counter, but I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. But I could do one on the side that could kind of maybe be attached and then removed. I don't know. But it would still have to have the IR beam inside, and I don't really know if I want a faux barrel in there at all, and I'm not sure if it, honestly, I feel like it might be more hassle than it's worth, so I kind of feel like I'm not going to do that. But all in all, this thing is definitely coming together. I'm really loving it. I definitely have a few more things to take care of before we can get primer on this thing. And then the next episode, we're going to be, I have made a decision on this stock, and I think it's going to be what's best for this project, so I'll let you know what that is. We have a little work to do with the Dremel there to make that happen. The front muzzle is looking pretty good, but I still need to do a little bit more work in there to kind of make it look nice, because people see down the front of your blaster too, so you want to make that look as good as possible. You know, people love to like just show the side of the blaster, you know, and then, but every angle has to look good. At least to me it does. So I try to make that happen. It's a weird thing, because obviously it looks like you're going to be firing out of this part, but actually you fire out of this part. That's kind of how the crossbow is too. I mean, this is a faux barrel kind of thing for the crossbow, and you actually fire the rocket up here, which is kind of interesting. So I kept that kind of feel, I guess. Obviously we'll be firing down below, but I think it's looking pretty good. It's very, very dusty from all the sanding. A lot of sanding has been done, and yeah, we're definitely going to need to give this thing a bath. Hopefully in the next episode I can get those flywheels dyed also, see how that works, or at least in between the videos. and give this thing a bath, and then hopefully we can get this thing into primer next time. That's what I'm really hoping for. So definitely stay tuned. Ring the bell for notifications. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and I'm assuming you did if you're watching to this point. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Peace out.